So it's like 25 years ago, and I'm sitting on an exam table in my boxer shorts and that silly gown that they give you, and the doctor comes in, and he's got a folder, and he's got that look. You know, the one they get when they have something they don't want to tell you. Well, I knew this guy, and he tells me it's a tumor. It's about the size of a golf ball, and I quite possibly have pancreatic cancer. I heard it. It stepped me back hard. And I thought about that all the way home, wondering how I was going to explain that to the family. But it didn't really sink in until I said it out loud. Only when I spoke those words did it become real. Well, I did have a tumor, but it was behind the pancreas, and aside from the bankruptcy due to the medical costs, the story has a happy ending. I never forgot that moment, however, the realization that speaking those words transitioned a concept to an actual reality. And I think that's something all of us know deep inside, and that's what makes it hard for us to face hard issues. So come on in. Let's kick around some difficult topics. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Bill Bateman, part of the team here at Refuse to be a Victim Personal Protection Training. We are located in the Medford, White City area, and I'd like to invite you to come on by. And before we get into the topic today, my wife called me aside and said, you never tell people where you are. I said, okay, fine. That's a fair judgment. Thank you for that. Good catch. And we are at 6800 Kershaw Road, here in the Jackson County Parks Complex. It's Kershaw and Corey, where the road makes that really sharp U-turn. Slow it down, guys and gals. And there's a sign there. We've been there for since 1945, I think, 44. So it's not a new structure. It's been there a while. And that's where we are. There's a little shack when you pull in. We'll have you sign in. We're open from 8 a.m. until dusk. Now that changes because it gets darker later and earlier depending on the season. We're moving into December and we're going to be closing up like 4:30, 4 o'clock as the time changes. You can always give us a call if you'd like to find out. We are open 365 days a year. I think we do close half day, 1 day a year for repaving. But we're open Christmas, we're open New Year's, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to come by, now you know where we are. Okay, with that out of the way, 6800 Kershaw, and Corey in the White City area, the old Camp White Range. All right. Well, in our last episode, we talked about emergency antibiotics and emergency medical care, and I recommended that we stay informed about the current issues, but not stew in it for hours on end. And lately, I've been seeing more and more posts on a variety of sites, online, podcasts, blogs, YouTube, you name it, on the concerns of, and here's where you use the air quotes, concerns of things heating up. Okay, that's code for nuclear confrontation or nuclear tactical things being launched. Well, having grown up in the time of the Bay of Pigs, this is not new to me, and I will say it's just as scary now as it was then, and that's compounded by the fact I had some training in the Navy on radiological warfare. Enough said. And now that I've actually spoken the words nuclear confrontation, it's kind of like if you don't say it, it's not real. Well, I do hope sanity will prevail. Preppers, and even people in general, should try and stay informed. I've got a few bones to pick with this, however. Some folks seem to be going just a little too far with the scare tactics, and those scare tactics all seem designed to sell you something. It's good to be prepared, but I do think we should stay alert. I think we should research carefully anything we are going to buy on this topic. And that's why I'm going to be trying to include links to sites I have checked out and appear to have solid foundations. You see, the bottom line is this is as serious as it gets. This is some serious stuff we're dealing with. And we don't want toys. We need workable equipment. And on top of that, we need to understand what it's telling us and how to read it so we don't make a bad decision in a crisis situation. It's time for some deep dives. We've talked about splashing and wading and swimming. This is time to put on the mask and flippers, clear your mask out, get down, and let's do some deep dive information on this topic. Before we go too far, also mixed in with this is information about EMP and RDIF scanning. This is something we also need to be aware of. An EMP is also referred to as a transient electromagnetic disturbance, and what it is a brief burst of electromagnetic energy. An EMP, they have weapons actually that will create these now, and it can happen through sunspots, and it can happen through nuclear detonations. An EMP will basically take you back to about 1850. It blows out all the circuits in the electronics by overloading them. And next week, we'll put some information in about EMPs. And the scanning, they're selling you all of these wallets. They're going to keep people from getting your information. And you can buy those, or you can put a little piece of foil next to your credit card. Some of our friends, aluminum foil, cut a piece to fit, and sprinkle them in there if you're really worried about it. It's hard to get a reading, and it doesn't give you the kind of information you think it does. But we'll talk about that next week, because yes, an EMP, and I am very serious about these, this will take you back to the 1800s, but it's not nearly as serious as radiation. So identify it, name it, call it out. You know what the enemy is. First thing you have to do when you're worried about radiation is be informed. Have a good source. And by that, I don't mean Buffalo Bob's Fill Dirt and podcast site. I'm talking about the Nuclear Regulatory Commission or the CDC. You don't have to get into the politics involved. You do have to get into how much this information has accuracy. I like to use a technique I learned many years ago. If you're going to quote something, make sure you have 3 reliable sources. It's a little hard to do these days, but get 3 good, reputable sources. Now, what does that mean? That means that you have had consistent, good experience with this source. And that doesn't mean, well, it proved to be true in the end. This means you can count on this stuff. This isn't limited commodity. This is as hard as, good French bread sometimes. You really have a difficult time getting good information. This is important. Get the good stuff. First thing to do about radiation is detect it. Stay informed, and then if you are concerned, have the proper equipment to detect it. They're called dosimeters. Another way to that is a Geiger counter. And I've included some links. Of course, I've included some links for the best counter for radiation detection, and also a nuclear survival kit guide has a whole lot of information and checklists. If you're really concerned about this, this is some information for you. Now, these dosimeters or detectors go from a card that fits in your wallet, runs around $25 on Amazon, to units about the size of a cell phone that are several $100s. Now, interestingly enough, I did some research on my own, and then I went on to the website, and there were 3 items quoted, and you'll see them when you get there. The top pick is around $300. The medium pick is around, let's find out here, $70. And the middle one, and this is kind of interesting, this is an everyday carrier counter, and it's $170. All these are on Amazon. You can always check around and see if you can get a better price, and if you do, please let me know. I'd love to share it with the family here. But one is called a Nuke-Alert radiation detector, and it fits on your keychain and makes little chirping noises. I probably wouldn't wear it on my keychain. My keys get beat to death all the time. I would want this thing in a place where I could access it quickly, like in my car. And we do need to know, the biggest shock I got was that there's always radiation around. I mean, your watch, your microwave, when you go near a dentist's office or a doctor's office, yes, it's shielded. It's okay. Don't panic. But radiation is with us all the time. So your first step, if this is something really that concerns you, is find out what kind of gear you might need, what the checklist is for preparation, and then how to detect radiation when you get information from a good source. Know you can spend from a little to a lot, and you're going to get what you pay for. One thing I always recommend is looking at the reviews and the comments when you're going to buy a product. Amazon is good in the fact they provide those reviews, and bad on this particular little card, the $30 item. It's saying they don't have an expiration date, or when you get one with an expiration date, it's already expired. Not unlike a lot of those COVID tests I ordered from Amazon, which are, by the way, non-refundable, or they don't have a date at all. They also say you must use an infrared light to accurately read this device. None of this is brought up in the actual sales literature. I think I would recommend always checking for the latest information and finding out where the heat should be directed. Is it the manufacturer? Is it the reseller? There are also a distressing number of out-of-date links. When it says buy this, you click on it. Oh, link is no good anymore. This is, for example, for the top-rated radiation detection device, they're sold out. They're gone. For the one that I said was $300, no, can't find one of those, even from the manufacturer's site. So these are type of things, look, but don't settle. This is serious stuff. Okay, you've detected your radiation. Now what are you going to do? What is the treatment for radiation? Well, the CDC has that, and I'm going to include the link for countermeasures. Also, you need to understand how it is measured and how it is reported. There are dose equivalents. They talk about REMs, Röntgens, and sieverts. You're like me. Your eyes are kind of glazing over, and you go, don't get too technical there, Bill. Not going to happen. You can also see millirems. Well, okay, I'm including a link on how to detect some of the gobbledygook. So once you determine what type of radiation you are dealing with, and I am hopeful, and I really say this with a good heart, I'm hopeful we're going to be hearing information should this ever happen. They always say turn on your radio stations. Well, I've been through this. I'm not going down this road again because I'm still pretty ticked off about it. Getting information locally here could be a difficulty. I have not gotten any meaningful dialogue back until I threatened to stop funding one source. I said, nope, no more donations for you. And then they're on the phone. They were my best friend. How seriously can I take that from that point on? I went to the CDC, get the information you can, and in your standard first aid kit, a lot of us have potassium iodide. And that is something for radiation. In an emergency, you may be told to take potassium iodide to protect your thyroid. Now, don't take this stuff unless you're instructed by a public health official or emergency health care provider type of individual. Don't meet Bob on the corner who says, yeah, you better start taking your potassium, because there are limits to who you should use it, how much it can help, and it only works on days close to the actual ingestion of radiation. I'm looking here on my sheet, it does have some harmful health effects. Everything has a side effect. And if you don't need it or it's not taken correctly, it's going to do you some damage. This is where this deep diving comes in. This is where you are going to research, talk to your doctor, your healthcare provider, so you'll understand what's going on. In addition to the potassium, there's something called Prussian blue. Well, what is it? It's a pill that can help remove radioactive cesium and thallium from your body. You put it in your tummy. It works to remove radioactive materials that get inside you and pass it out of your body through the normal excretory bowel movement. Getting the stuff out of the body helps limit the amount of time they're going to expose all that good stuff inside your body to radiation. And that's a very interesting side point. There's external radiation, which would fall on you like dust in a serious emergency. And there's the internal stuff, gets into your lungs, gets into your stomach, gets into your mouth. Prussian blue reduces the biological half-life from about 110 days to 30 days. Now, the biological half-life is the amount of time it takes for the radioactive material to leave the body. The sooner you get rid of it, the less harm it's going to do. And it also takes thallium from 8 days to about 3 days. And one final point, and they put this in the actual message, there's an artist product called Prussian blue. It goes in paint that you're going to paint a portrait or something. Don't do that. That's paint stuff. Do not ingest it. It's very, very bad for you. Now, there's another item, and it's called DTPA. Okay, I'm going to go with DTPA. It's a medicine that grabs things like plutonium, americium, and cerium to decrease the amount of time it takes to get it out of your body. And it cannot prevent these things from entering your body. Comes in two forms, one with a calcium base and one with a zinc base, and it works best depending upon the exposure. The first 24 hours you should take one. Immediate exposure, or after the 24 hours, take another one. There's one more, and I'm just going to write it down because I'm tired of trying to pronounce this and sounding like a moron. This is a drug, Neupogen, I think. It's been used for cancer patients to stimulate the growth of white blood cells. And if you've received a high dose of radiation, you're going to have some bone marrow destruction, and that's not good. So if you've got that type of situation, that drug, Neupogen, may also show up. These are the things I've been trying to suggest to people. Get information. What is this stuff? If you hear this word again, if you're looking on this list and the doctor says, well, we're going to have to give you some of this, you know what they're talking about. You know what to ask for. You know what to be aware of. Learn how to monitor your doses. Okay, I'm going to break this into bite-sized servings because there's a lot going on here. We'll talk more about this next week. This week we talked about detecting radiation, naming the problem, not being afraid of it, don't let the fear control you, and what medications you may initially be encountering if you are exposed to radiation. Okay, more on that next week. One other thing on the topic of prepping, I was doing this during the summer, June, July, and a part of August, and I got busy doing my SOU class. I'm going to go back to giving the free 90-minute introductions. That's a 90-minute flyover of the topic of prepping. It goes from Gen Z people to seniors. Seniors to Gen Z are all going to get something out of this. This is free. This is something we at Refuse to Be a Victim do to serve our community. It's something we do to be a help. There is no credit card required for any. I'm not bringing a box of stuff to sell you. I am going to give you links like you've never seen before. I'm going to give you all kinds of stuff with my recommendations based on reliability. A lot of this stuff I own. When I talk about a solar generator, I got 2 of them sitting behind me right now. I'm not talking about something I'm getting a kickback or a fee for recommending. So it's a free 90-minute introduction to the concept of prepping beyond the bug out bag. I will include links to my prior podcasts and an opportunity to subscribe to this one. The subscription is also free. I'm not here to pick your pocket, people. I'm here to share some information on really important stuff. If you want to take advantage of it, if you are a senior citizen, get in touch with your senior center. I'm really happy with that presentation we did at the Ashland Senior Center. Worked out really well. Reach out to your community's emergency services office. I'm not trying to step on their toes and say, yeah, here's stuff they didn't know, but this is to get you thinking about it, and as I do here on the program, get you headed in the right direction. Okay, free 90 minutes. You can't do better than that. You can also take the 6-week class next September again at Ollie at SOU. Need more information? Fire off that email address at the bottom of the sign-in section. Always happy to hear from you. And finally, yes, indeed, classes coming up November the 11th, which is Veterans Day, by the way. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for your service. On Veterans Day, the concealed carry class, you have the opportunity to not only get your concealed carry, but sign up for an Arizona certificate, and that combined with your Oregon certificate is going to allow you concealed carry in over 30 states. So that's important. There's also beyond concealed carry called Concealed Carry Mastery. And okay, you got your concealed carry permit. Now what? How to carry legally, ethically, and safely. Very important class. If you're just getting started, we are still doing and still happy to be promoting the basic pistol introduction. If you're thinking of buying a handgun, or you just bought one and you're kind of going, now what? This is the class for you. 3 hours, they're available. Really, there's a lot of them out there. Basically, if you call and tell us when you need it, we can usually get you one pretty quick, because there's several of us doing them. You don't have to be stuck with me. You might get Phil. Hey, who knows? Phil, CJ, and I, we're all out here for your learning to be a safe, effective shooter. And the final reminder, we got gift certificates. It's officially holiday season. I'm seeing the Thanksgiving decorations starting to go up around the homestead, so it's time. Gift certificate. Give a gift certificate of independence, of self-sufficiency, and of confidence. Any class we teach, from the home safety, build a safe room class, any of these classes are available as a gift certificate. You can't cash them in, sorry, and they're something you have to schedule in advance. You can't just show up, but that's all of our classes. And finally, in any and all classes we teach, we do private training. We have group classes, and we have private training, one-on-one. The one-on-one's a little bit more because you're getting extra in-depth coverage and personal attention, which I think is always good when you're dealing with something as serious as this. Okay, everybody, that's it for this week. Had a lot on our plate. We'll have more up ahead. I hope you're going to be safe and sane out there. I look forward to seeing you at the range, now that you know where it is, and I look forward to seeing you next week here on the podcast. Be sure to share this with your friends and even, maybe even your ex-girlfriend, because they could probably benefit from this information too. We'll see you next week. Keep your head on a swivel. Thank you for listening. The preceding presentation was a Retired Guy production.